teaching of the Buddha is one of the most relevant philosophical and practical teachings in the modern world. Without being attached to any dogma, blind belief, or extreme fanaticism, the teaching of the Buddha clearly explains what are the causes of suffering, how they can be eliminated, what real practical tools exist for this. The teaching that the Buddha gave is based primarily on his personal experience, which he lived through making efforts, experiencing austerities, practicing yoga and meditation, and the Buddha also urged others not to blindly believe what he says, but to check everything from personal experience. Buddha Shakyamuni has left our world. There are several versions of where his path goes next, whether he went to Mahaparinirvana or continued to reincarnate, traveling through the worlds of samsara and instructing living beings in the Dharma. Both versions are equally likely and have the right to exist. But since the teacher left the world, then in the practice of his teachings, we can only focus on those texts that remain after the departure of the Buddha. What texts should the followers of the teaching rely on? It is important to recall again that the Buddha urged not to blindly believe in his teaching and, in general, everything that he said. This, however, does not mean that we should not even study what the texts offer us. We are only talking about the fact that all the information received must be verified on personal experience. As the Buddha said, if the finger points to the moon, look at the moon, not at the finger. And the sacred texts of Buddhism are the very finger that points to the moon. Holy Book of Buddhism. Title: Each spiritual tradition has its own basis in the form of some scriptures. In Christianity, this is the Bible. In Islam, the Quran. In Judaism, the Torah. And in Judaism, the Torah. And in Hinduism, the Vedas. What is the name of the Holy Book of Buddhism? Tripitaka is an important concept in Buddhism. Tripitaka is a set of sacred texts, 3 baskets in Buddhism. The sections of the Tripitaka are called baskets for a reason. The fact is that texts in ancient times were written on palm leaves, and these scrolls were literally kept in baskets. That's where the name came from. So, 3 baskets in Buddhism are 3 sections of texts: Vinaya, Pitaka, Sutra, Pitaka, Abhidharma, Pitaka. The first basket of Tripitaka, Vinaya Pitaka. Vinaya Pitaka consists of texts that contain prescriptions for the community of monks, the Sangha. The very name Vinaya is translated as a charter. The Vinaya Pitaka contains rules for the monastic community, 227 rules for Bhikshus and 250 rules for Bhikshus and 250 rules for Bhikshaya. The Vinaya Pitaka also contains various instructions, recommendations, parables from the life of the Buddha, which are designed to make the life of monks harmonious and effective for moving along the path of spiritual development. The second basket of Tripitaka, Sutra Pitaka. By the very name of this section, it is clear that it contains the sutras, the main texts of Buddhism, which describe the sermons of the Buddha, his life, and various stories that happened to him and his monastic community. The Sutra Pitaka also includes Jatakas, memories of past lives of the Buddha. When the Buddha reached enlightenment, the memory of all his past incarnations immediately opened to him, and he told these stories to the monks to show them how clearly and inexorably the law of karma operates. For a deeper understanding of the law of karma, it is recommended to become familiar with the Jatakas. Sutra Pitakas. Sutra Pitaka contains more than 10,000 sutras. Some of them are descriptions of the sermons and life of the Buddha. Some are dedicated to his closest disciples. Tripitaka, third basket, Abhidharma Pitaka. The Abhidharma Pitaka includes several fundamentally different texts than those in the first 2 baskets. The Abhidharma Pitaka contains philosophical treatises which are no longer based on the sermons of the Buddha, but are, as it were, comments on his teachings. Thus, the texts of the Abhidharma Pitaka are a deep analysis of the Buddha's teaching, which makes it possible to explain aspects of the teaching to modern people in a more understandable language. The origin of the texts dates back to the time of King Ashoka, who was a devoted follower of the Buddha's teachings. King Ashoka is a unique ruler. Inspired by the teachings of the Buddha, he was able to combine both the qualities of a ruler and a warrior, and a worthy follower of the teachings. Which of the texts are recommended for acquaintance with the teachings of the Buddha? There are several important sutras that give insight into the basis of the Buddha's teachings. Sutra of Starting the Wheel of Dharma, a short sutra describing the first sermon of the Buddha. It was this sermon that laid the foundation for his teachings. It is very important to read, understand the essence, and deeply reflect on what is written there. Sutra of the Heart. The sutra contains the sermon of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara in the form of answers to the questions of the closest disciple of the Buddha. Shariputra, the Sutratra. The Sutratra introduces an important concept in Buddhism, Shunyata. Diamond Sutra. An important sutra contains the doctrine of the Bodhisattva path, as well as the world order, the essence of nirvana, samsara, and so on. The Lotus Flower Sutra of the Miraculous Dharma, one of the basic Mahayana sutras. It reveals in more detail the idea of the Bodhisattva path, tricks, features of the path of spiritual development, and the path that the Buddha himself walked. Sutra on Karma, a short sutra where the Buddha tells, at the request of his disciple Ananda, how the law of karma works. Vimalakirti Sutra contains instructions from the Bodhisattva Vimalakirti, Sutra of the Basic Vows of the Bodhisattva Ksitagarbha. The sutra contains the instructions of the Bodhisattva Ksitagarbha and gives a deeper insight into the Bodhisattva path. By studying the sacred texts of Buddhism, one can comprehend the perfect wisdom that Shakyamuni Buddha and his followers gave to the world. There is another important plus in the study of sacred texts. Reading the scriptures purifies our consciousness. In today's world, our consciousness is constantly being attacked by destructive information that affects us, even if we are not aware of it. And in order to cleanse your inner world, it is useful to read sacred texts. There is an opinion that while reading, we assimilate only 3 of the information, and from this point of view, each text, in order to assimilate it completely, must be read at least 33 times. In any case, it will be a very rewarding experience.